In a quiet, close-knit neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, life unfolded with a rhythm that felt both predictable and comforting. People knew each other by name. Kids played basketball on cracked driveways, and the air often carried the scent of barbecues or freshly baked pies wafting through open windows. It was here, in this humble community, that a young boy named Marcus lived with his mother, Mrs. Johnson. Marcus was only 12 years old, but he carried himself with a maturity that made him stand out among his peers. His clothes were always neatly pressed, even if they were hand-me-downs from his older cousins, and his backpack, though worn at the edges, was always packed with books and notebooks. Marcus had big dreams. He wanted to be an engineer someday, building bridges and skyscrapers that would inspire awe. But for now, his days revolved around school, chores, and helping out wherever he could in the neighborhood. Every afternoon after school, Marcus would take a shortcut home through the local park. It was a peaceful place, with tall trees casting long shadows over winding trails, benches scattered here and there, and the occasional squirrel darting across the path. On this particular day, however, something unusual caught his eye as he strolled along one of the quieter paths. Near a bench sat a small, shiny object glinting in the sunlight. Curious, Marcus approached it cautiously. When he got closer, he realized it was a wallet, black leather, slightly scuffed but clearly expensive. Picking it up, Marcus felt its weight in his hands. He opened it carefully and was stunned by what he saw inside. Stacks of crisp $100 bills filled the compartments, along with several credit cards embossed with elegant names. There was also a driver's license tucked into a plastic sleeve. The photo showed a middle-aged man with sharp features, piercing eyes, and perfectly styled hair. His name was Richard Langston, and his address listed a street Marcus didn't recognize. For a moment, Marcus just stood there, staring at the contents of the wallet. His heart raced as thoughts swirled in his mind. $10,000, at least that's what it looked like, was more money than he'd ever seen in his life. His family struggled to make ends meet. His mother worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table and pay the rent. With this kind of money, they could fix the leaky roof, buy new shoes for Marcus, and maybe even save some for emergencies. But then another thought crept in. This wasn't his money. Someone had lost it, and whoever that person was must be feeling frantic right now. What if it belonged to someone who needed it desperately? Or worse, what if it was stolen from them? Marcus shook his head, pushing those selfish thoughts aside. He remembered the lessons his mother had taught him about honesty and integrity. "Do the right thing," she always said, even when no one is watching. With a deep breath, Marcus closed the wallet and slipped it into his backpack. He glanced at the driver's license again and decided to go directly to the address listed. It wasn't far, just a 20-minute walk, but as he made his way toward the unfamiliar street, he couldn't help but feel nervous. What if the owner didn't believe him? Or worse, what if they accused him of stealing it? When Marcus finally arrived, he found himself standing in front of a massive mansion surrounded by towering iron gates. The house looked like something out of a movie, with manicured lawns, sparkling fountains, and polished marble steps leading to an imposing front door. Marcus hesitated for a moment before pressing the intercom button beside the gate. No one answered. Disappointed but determined, he scribbled a note on a piece of paper from his notebook. "Hi, I found your wallet in the park today. Please call me so we can arrange how to return it." He added his phone number and slid the note through the mail slot in the gate. As Marcus walked back home, he felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of him wished he could have spoken to the owner face to face, but another part felt relieved that he'd done the right thing. When he got home, his mother greeted him with a warm smile. "How was your day?" she asked, setting a plate of grilled cheese sandwiches on the table. Marcus debated whether to tell her about the wallet, but decided against it. Instead, he simply shrugged and said, "It was okay." That evening, as Marcus helped his mother wash dishes, the phone rang. Thinking it might be one of her co-workers, he let her answer it. But after a few moments, she called him over, holding the phone out to him. "It's for you," she said, her brow furrowed in confusion. Marcus took the phone hesitantly. "Hello?" he said, his voice trembling slightly. On the other end of the line was a deep, authoritative voice. "Is this Marcus?" the man asked. "Yes, sir," Marcus replied. "This is Richard Langston. You found my wallet today, correct?" Marcus's heart skipped a beat. "Yes, sir. I left a note at your gate." There was a pause, and then Mr. Langston spoke again, his tone softer this time. "Young man, you've done something truly remarkable. Most people wouldn't have returned such a valuable item." "Thank you." Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. "I just did what I thought was right, sir." Mr. Langston chuckled warmly. "Well, I appreciate it more than you know. Can I come by tomorrow to pick up the wallet and perhaps thank you properly?" "Of course, sir," Marcus said, still trying to process everything. After hanging up, Marcus turned to his mother, who was watching him with wide eyes. "Who was that?" she asked. "It was the guy whose wallet I found," Marcus explained. "He wants to come by tomorrow to say thanks." Mrs. Johnson hugged him tightly. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. You did the right thing, and good things will come from it. Just wait and see." Little did Marcus know, those words would prove truer than either of them could have imagined. As he lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, he replayed the events of the day in his mind. He wondered who Mr. Langston was and why he carried so much money in his wallet. More importantly, he wondered what tomorrow would bring. Would Mr. Langston really show up? And if he did, what would happen next? Unbeknownst to Marcus, his simple act of honesty was about to set off a chain of events that would change his life forever. For now, though, all he could do was wait and hope that doing the right thing would lead to something good. The next morning, Marcus woke up earlier than usual. The sun had barely begun to rise, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, but sleep had eluded him. His mind raced with questions about what the day might hold. Would Mr. Langston really show up? What would he say? And most importantly, how should Marcus act when meeting someone so wealthy and important? As he got ready for school, Marcus tried to push those thoughts aside and focus on his routine. He helped his mother tidy up their small house, sweeping the floor and watering the plants in their modest garden. Despite his efforts to stay calm, he couldn't shake the nervous energy buzzing inside him. Every time a car passed by, he peeked out the window, half expecting to see the sleek black SUV he'd imagined in his head. Around mid-morning, as Marcus sat at the kitchen table eating a quick breakfast of scrambled eggs and toast, the sound of tires crunching against gravel broke the quiet hum of the neighborhood. He froze, fork halfway to his mouth, and turned to look out the window. There it was, a shiny black SUV, polished to perfection, pulling up outside their house. For a moment, Marcus thought he might be dreaming, but then the driver's door opened, and out stepped Mr. Richard Langston himself. Dressed in a perfectly tailored navy blue suit, Mr. Langston looked every bit the successful businessman Marcus had seen in the wallet's driver's license photo. His polished leather shoes clicked softly against the pavement as he walked toward the front door. Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. He glanced at his mother, who gave him an encouraging nod. "Go ahead," she whispered. "You've got this." Taking a deep breath, Marcus stood up and walked to the door. Before he could even reach for the handle, there was a firm yet polite knock. He opened the door to find Mr. Langston standing there, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Good morning, young man," Mr. Langston said, his voice deep and reassuring. "I'm Richard Langston. We spoke on the phone yesterday." "Good morning, sir," Marcus replied, his voice steady despite the butterflies fluttering in his stomach. "Come in, please." Mrs. Johnson appeared behind Marcus, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Mr. Langston, welcome," she said warmly, extending her hand. "I'm Marcus's mother. Please make yourself comfortable." Mr. Langston stepped inside, his eyes scanning the cozy living room with its mismatched furniture and faded curtains. Despite the simplicity of the space, it exuded warmth and care. He took a seat on the couch while Marcus and his mother sat across from him. The air felt charged with anticipation. "I can't thank you enough for returning my wallet, Marcus," Mr. Langston began, leaning forward slightly. "It contained some very important items. things that would have been nearly impossible to replace. Your honesty is truly remarkable. Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his chair. It wasn't a big deal, sir. I just did what anyone would do. Mr. Langston chuckled softly. But that's where you're wrong. Not everyone would have done what you did. In fact, many wouldn't have bothered to return it at all. That's why I wanted to come here personally, to express my gratitude. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. Handing it to Marcus, he said, "This is for you, a token of my appreciation." Marcus hesitated, unsure whether to take it. His mother gently nudged him and he accepted the envelope with trembling hands. When he opened it, his eyes widened in disbelief. Inside was a check for $10,000. "For me?" Marcus stammered, looking up at Mr. Langston. "Yes, for you," Mr. Langston confirmed with a nod. "Use it wisely, Marcus. You've earned it." Mrs. Johnson gasped audibly, her hand flying to her mouth. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at her son. "Oh, Marcus," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. For a moment the room fell silent. Marcus stared at the check, his mind struggling to process what had just happened. $10,000. It was more money than he'd ever dreamed of having. But instead of letting excitement overwhelm him, he thought carefully about what to do next. After Mr. Langston left, promising to stay in touch, Marcus and his mother sat down to discuss the unexpected windfall. They talked long into the evening, weighing their options and considering how best to use the money. Finally, they came to a decision. Half of it would go into a savings account earmarked for Marcus's college education, while the other half would be used to fix their leaking roof, buy groceries without worrying about stretching every dollar, and perhaps even treat themselves to a small family outing. Word of Marcus's honesty spread quickly through the neighborhood. Neighbors stopped by to congratulate him and his mother, marveling at the boy's integrity. Local newspapers caught wind of the story and wrote articles praising Marcus for his selflessness. Teachers at school commended him during assemblies, holding him up as an example of good character. Suddenly, Marcus found himself thrust into the spotlight, a position he hadn't anticipated or sought. At first, the attention was overwhelming. Strangers approached him on the street, patting him on the back and calling him a hero. Some kids teased him, accusing him of showing off or acting superior because of the money. Others wondered aloud why he hadn't kept more of the reward for himself. These whispers stung, making Marcus question whether he'd made the right choice. But, amid the noise, Marcus held on to one truth. He had done the right thing. Returning the wallet hadn't been about gaining recognition or financial gain. It had been about staying true to his values. Whenever doubt crept in, he reminded himself of the lessons his mother had instilled in him. Honesty, she always said, wasn't always easy, but it was worth it in the end. A few weeks later, Mr. Langston called again. This time he invited Marcus and his mother to visit his office downtown. When they arrived, they were awestruck by the towering skyscraper and the bustling energy inside. Mr. Langston greeted them warmly and led them to a spacious conference room filled with executives. As they entered, everyone clapped, surprising Marcus and leaving him momentarily speechless. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mr. Langston announced, gesturing toward Marcus, "this is the young man I told you about, the one who reminded me that integrity still exists in this world." Marcus blushed, feeling both proud and humbled. Over the next hour, Mr. Langston shared Marcus's story with his team, emphasizing the importance of honesty and trust in business. Afterward, he took Marcus aside and made a proposal that would change his life forever. "Marcus," Mr. Langston said earnestly, "you remind me of myself when I was younger, hardworking, principled, and full of potential. I'd like to mentor you, to teach you about business, finance, and leadership. What do you say?" Marcus's heart swelled with gratitude. For the first time, he allowed himself to dream bigger, not just for himself, but for his family and his community. With Mr. Langston's guidance, he began visiting the office regularly, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. He learned about investments, entrepreneurship, and the power of giving back. More importantly, he gained a role model, someone who believed in him unconditionally. As the months went by, Marcus continued to excel in school, earning top grades and impressing his teachers with his determination. His newfound confidence spilled over into other areas of his life. He started volunteering at local shelters, organizing fundraisers, and mentoring younger kids in the neighborhood. Through it all, he remained grounded, never forgetting where he came from or the simple act of kindness that had set everything in motion. One evening, as Marcus sat on the porch with his mother, watching the sunset paint the sky in fiery shades of red and gold, he reflected on how far he'd come. From finding a wallet in the park to meeting a millionaire who became his mentor. His journey had been nothing short of extraordinary, yet what mattered most to Marcus wasn't the money or the fame. It was the realization that doing the right thing could lead to opportunities beyond imagination. "Mom," Marcus said softly, breaking the silence. "Do you think people will remember me for this someday?" His mother smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "They already do, sweetheart. You've shown them what it means to be honest, kind, and brave. And that's something no one will ever forget." Marcus nodded, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. Little did he know, his story was only beginning. Someday he hoped to inspire others the way Mr. Langston had inspired him, to prove that even the smallest acts of integrity could create ripples of change, touching countless lives. Along the way, the days following Mr. Langston's visit to their home felt like a whirlwind for Marcus and his mother. Life in their small, humble neighborhood had always been predictable, waking up early, heading to school or work, coming back home to share meals, and repeating the cycle the next day. But now everything seemed different. The envelope with the $10,000 check sat safely tucked away in a drawer, a constant reminder of the extraordinary turn their lives had taken. At first, Marcus tried to act as though nothing had changed. He went to school, played basketball with his friends after class, and helped his mom around the house, but it was impossible to ignore the whispers that followed him wherever he went. Some kids admired him, calling him a hero for returning the wallet. Others teased him, accusing him of showing off or thinking he was better than everyone else because of the money. "You're just lucky," one boy sneered during recess. "Anyone could have found that wallet." Marcus clenched his fists, but forced himself to stay calm. He knew the teasing came from jealousy, but it still hurt. Deep down, he wondered if he should have kept quiet about the whole thing, if maybe life would have been easier if no one knew. But then he remembered Mr. Langston's words. "You remind me of myself when I was younger." Those words gave him strength. If someone as successful as Mr. Langston believed in him, why should he care what others thought? His mother noticed the weight on his shoulders and pulled him aside one evening. "Marcus," she said gently, placing a hand on his arm, "don't let what people say get to you. You did the right thing, and that's all that matters. People will always talk. They'll criticize, they'll doubt, but at the end of the day, you know who you are. And so do I." Her words brought tears to Marcus's eyes. For the first time since the story spread, he allowed himself to feel vulnerable. He hugged his mom tightly, grateful for her unwavering support. From that moment on, he resolved not to let negativity bring him down. Instead, he focused on the opportunities ahead, the chance to make something meaningful out of this experience. One Saturday morning, Marcus accompanied his mother to the bank to deposit half of the money into a savings account for his future education. As they stood in line, Marcus couldn't help but notice how different the atmosphere felt compared to their usual trips to pay bills or withdraw small amounts for groceries. The tellers greeted them warmly, and the manager even came out to personally assist them. When the transaction was complete, Marcus felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. This wasn't just money. It was a promise. A promise to himself, to his mom, and to the dreams he'd carried in his heart for so long. Later that afternoon, they used part of the remaining funds to hire a handyman to fix the leaky roof that had plagued their home for years. The sound of hammers echoing through the neighborhood brought curious neighbors to their doorstep, eager to see what was happening. Mrs. Johnson proudly explained that Marcus had earned the money by doing the right thing, and soon enough, the entire street was buzzing with excitement. Some neighbors offered to help with the repairs, while others brought over plates of food as a gesture of gratitude. It was as if Marcus's honesty had sparked a renewed sense of community spirit. But the changes didn't stop there. Inspired by Mr. Langston's generosity, Marcus decided to use some of the leftover money to give back to the neighborhood. He organized a small charity drive, collecting clothes, toys, and canned goods for families in need. With the help of his friends and teachers, he set up a makeshift donation center in the park where he'd found the wallet. On the day of the event, dozens of people showed up, not just to donate, but to thank Marcus for his efforts. Seeing the impact of his actions filled Marcus with a sense of purpose he'd never felt before. For the first time, he realized that his choices didn't just affect him. They rippled outward, touching the lives of others in ways he couldn't have imagined. It was a powerful lesson, one that stayed with him long after the event ended. Meanwhile, Marcus continued visiting Mr. Langston's office downtown every other weekend. Each session was like stepping into a new world. The sleek skyscraper, the polished marble floors, the hum of productivity. It was all so different from the quiet streets of his neighborhood. Yet, despite the grandeur, Mr. Langston treated Marcus like family. He introduced him to key members of his team, explaining their roles in running the company. He walked Marcus through financial reports, teaching him the basics of budgeting and investing. Most importantly, he shared stories of his own journey, from struggling to make ends meet as a young man to building a multi-million-dollar empire. "See, Marcus," Mr. Langston said during one of their sessions, "success isn't just about making money. It's about using your resources wisely and giving back to those who need it most. Money is a tool, not an end goal." Those words resonated deeply with Marcus. They reminded him of his mother's teachings and reinforced the values he'd grown up with. Slowly but surely, he began to envision a future where he could combine his passion for engineering with his desire to help others. Maybe he could design affordable housing solutions for low-income families, or create sustainable technologies to improve living conditions in underserved communities. The possibilities seemed endless. Back at school, Marcus's newfound confidence started to shine through. He raised his hand more often in class, participated in group projects with enthusiasm, and even joined the debate club. His teachers noticed the change and encouraged him to apply for scholarships and academic programs outside the district. One teacher, Mrs. Harper, took a particular interest in Marcus's progress. She spent extra time tutoring him in math and science, helping him prepare for advanced placement exams. "You're capable of great things, Marcus," she told him one afternoon after class. "Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." Her faith in him meant the world. For the first time, Marcus allowed himself to dream bigger, not just for himself, but for his family and his community. He imagined a future where he could provide for his mom, ensuring she wouldn't have to work multiple jobs just to survive. He pictured himself standing on a stage, accepting awards for groundbreaking inventions that improved people's lives, and he envisioned a world where kids like him, kids from neighborhoods like his, had access to the same opportunities as everyone else. As the weeks turned into months, Marcus's relationship with Mr. Langston grew stronger. The millionaire became more than just a mentor. He became a friend. During their meetings, they talked about everything from business strategies to personal struggles. Marcus opened up about the challenges he faced growing up in a low-income household, while Mr. Langston shared stories of the sacrifices he'd made to achieve his goals. Their conversations were honest, raw, and inspiring, a testament to the bond they'd formed. One evening, as they sat in Mr. Langston's office overlooking the city skyline, Marcus asked a question that had been weighing on his mind. "Mr. Langston," he began hesitantly, "do you think I can really make it? Like actually succeed?" Mr. Langston leaned back in his chair, studying Marcus with a thoughtful expression. "Success isn't guaranteed, Marcus. It takes hard work, resilience, and a willingness to learn from failure. But I believe in you. You have the determination, the intelligence, and the heart to achieve anything you set your mind to. All you need to do is keep pushing forward." Those words stayed with Marcus long after he left the office that night. As he rode the bus home, watching the city lights blur past the window, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But he also knew he wasn't alone. Between his mother's love, Mr. Langston's guidance, and the lessons he'd learned along the way, he had everything he needed to face whatever came next. When Marcus finally arrived home, he found his mother waiting for him in the living room. Her face lit up when she saw him. "How was your meeting?" she asked, handing him a cup of hot cocoa. "It was good," Marcus replied, smiling. "We talked about a lot of things, about dreams and hard work and believing in yourself." "Mrs. Johnson nodded, her eyes shining with pride. "And what did you decide?" Marcus took a sip of his cocoa, savoring its warmth. Then, looking straight into his mother's eyes, he said, "I decided I'm going to try my best. No matter what happens, I'm going to keep moving forward, because that's what we do, right? We keep going." His mother hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. In that moment, Marcus realized something profound. Success wasn't just about reaching a destination. It was about the journey, the people you met along the way, and the lessons you learned. And for the first time in his life, he felt ready to embrace it all. As the weeks rolled into months, Marcus's life began to take on a rhythm that balanced his dreams with the realities of his daily existence. School remained his top priority, but now he approached it with a newfound determination. The teasing from some classmates had died down, replaced instead by a mix of admiration and curiosity. Even those who had once mocked him started seeking his advice, whether it was about homework or how to handle difficult situations. Marcus handled these interactions with grace, never letting pride get in the way of kindness. One afternoon, as Marcus sat in the school library working on a science project, Mrs. Harper, his favorite teacher, approached him. She carried a stack of brochures and pamphlets in her arms, which she placed gently on the table in front of him. "Marcus," she said, her voice brimming with excitement, "I think it's time you considered applying for some of these programs." He glanced at the materials curiously. They were advertisements for summer internships, STEM camps, and leadership workshops, all designed to nurture young talent and provide opportunities for students like him. Some of them even offered scholarships for high school and college. Marcus felt a flicker of excitement, but also a pang of doubt. Could he really compete with kids from wealthier backgrounds? Would they take someone like him seriously? Mrs. Harper seemed to sense his hesitation. "You're one of the brightest students I've ever taught, Marcus. Don't sell yourself short. These programs are looking for people like you, kids with potential, drive, and character. You've already proven you have all three." Her words lingered in Marcus's mind long after she left. That evening, as he sat at the kitchen table flipping through the brochures, his mother joined him. She looked over his shoulder, her eyes scanning the pages. "This is amazing," she said softly. "You should apply, sweetheart. Think about what this could mean for your future." "But what if I don't get in?" Marcus asked, voicing the fear that had been gnawing at him. "What if I'm not good enough?" His mother reached across the table and placed a hand on his. "You won't know unless you try. And besides, you've got Mr. Langston behind you. He'll write you a recommendation letter, won't he?" The thought hadn't occurred to Marcus, but it made perfect sense. With Mr. Langston's support, along with the glowing endorsements from his teachers, he stood a real chance. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to feel hopeful. Over the next few weeks, he poured his energy into crafting essays, gathering transcripts, and preparing for interviews. It was exhausting work, but every late night spent typing away on their old computer felt worth it. Meanwhile, Marcus continued visiting Mr. Langston's office, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. During one session, he brought up the idea of applying for the programs. To his relief, Mr. Langston immediately agreed to help. "Of course I'll write you a recommendation," he said firmly. "In fact, I'll make sure my team helps you. Prepare for the interviews too. You're going places, Marcus, I can feel it." With Mr. Langston's guidance and encouragement, Marcus submitted applications to several prestigious programs. The waiting period was agonizing, filled with restless nights and constant second-guessing. But then, One crisp spring morning, an email arrived in his inbox. It was from a highly competitive engineering camp held at a renowned university. His hands trembled as he opened it. "Dear Marcus Johnson," the message read, "we are thrilled to inform you that you have been selected to participate in our summer engineering program." Marcus stared at the screen, unable to believe what he was reading. Tears welled up in his eyes as he turned to his mother, who was standing nearby. "Mom," he choked out, holding up the laptop, "I got in." She rushed over, hugging him tightly as tears streamed down her face. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. This is just the beginning." The summer program turned out to be everything Marcus had hoped for, and more. Held on the sprawling campus of a prestigious university, it brought together bright young minds from across the country. For the first time, Marcus found himself surrounded by peers who shared his passion for innovation and problem-solving. Together, they worked on projects ranging from robotics to renewable energy solutions, guided by professors and industry experts. But the experience wasn't without its challenges. Many of the other students came from privileged backgrounds, having attended elite schools with access to cutting-edge labs and resources. At first, Marcus felt intimidated, worried he wouldn't measure up. However, he quickly realized that his unique perspective, shaped by his upbringing and experiences, was an asset rather than a liability. When the group was tasked with designing a low-cost water filtration system for rural communities, Marcus drew inspiration from the struggles he'd seen in his own neighborhood. His ideas impressed both his teammates and the instructors, earning him recognition as one of the standout participants. By the end of the program, Marcus had formed lasting friendships with several of his peers. One of them, a girl named Priya from California, became particularly close. Like Marcus, she was driven and compassionate, often discussing ways to use technology to address social issues. On the final day of the camp, as they exchanged contact information, Priya smiled warmly. "We're going to change the world someday, aren't we?" she said. Marcus grinned back, feeling a surge of optimism. "Yeah, I think we will." Returning home from the program, Marcus felt transformed. Not only had he gained valuable skills and confidence, but he'd also discovered a deeper sense of purpose. He wanted to create solutions that mattered, to build things that improved lives, not just profits. This realization fueled his ambition, pushing him to excel in school and continue seeking opportunities to grow. Back in his neighborhood, Marcus wasted no time putting his newfound knowledge to use. Inspired by the water filtration project, he decided to tackle another issue plaguing his community: unreliable electricity. Power outages were common, leaving families without light or heat during cold winter nights. Determined to find a solution, Marcus teamed up with a few friends to design a simple solar-powered lantern using materials they could afford. They spent countless hours tinkering in Marcus's garage, testing prototypes and making adjustments. When their first functional model finally lit up, casting a warm glow across the room, they erupted in cheers. Word spread quickly, and soon neighbors were stopping by to see the invention. Encouraged by the positive response, Marcus organized a small workshop to teach others how to build similar lanterns. Within weeks, dozens of households in the neighborhood had access to sustainable lighting. The success of the project caught the attention of local news outlets, which ran stories highlighting Marcus's ingenuity and commitment to helping others. Once again, he found himself in the spotlight, but this time, he embraced it. He used the platform to advocate for STEM education in underserved communities, urging policymakers and businesses to invest in programs that empowered young innovators. Mr. Langston watched Marcus's progress with immense pride. During one of their regular meetings, he leaned back in his chair and smiled. "You're doing incredible work, Marcus. Have you thought about where you want to go to college yet?" Marcus nodded eagerly. "I've been looking at a few schools. There's one in particular, a university known for its engineering program. It's a bit of a reach, but I think I can get in." "Well," Mr. Langston replied, "if anyone can do it, it's you. Let me know how I can help. Whether it's writing letters, making calls, or funding tuition gaps, consider it done." Gratitude swelled in Marcus's chest. He knew how fortunate he was to have someone like Mr. Langston in his corner. But more than that, he understood that true success wasn't measured by accolades or wealth. It was about lifting others up and creating opportunities for those who came after him. That fall, as Marcus entered his senior year of high school, he threw himself into the college application process with relentless focus. Essays, interviews, and standardized tests consumed his days, but he never lost sight of why he was doing it. Every late night spent revising drafts reminded him of the dreams he carried, not just for himself, but for his family and his community. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. Sitting at the kitchen table with his mother beside him, Marcus opened the envelope containing the decision letter from his dream university. His heart raced as he scanned the page, searching for the verdict. Then he saw it. "Congratulations. We are pleased to offer you admission." Tears blurred his vision as he hugged his mother tightly. All the hard work, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt, they had led him here. He was going to college. He was going to become an engineer. And he was going to make a difference. As Marcus celebrated this milestone, he couldn't help but reflect on how far he'd come since finding that wallet in the park. What had started as a simple act of honesty had blossomed into a journey of growth, resilience, and purpose. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he also knew he wasn't alone. Between his mother's love, Mr. Langston's mentorship, and the unwavering belief he had in himself, he was ready to face whatever came next. And so, with hope in his heart and determination in his stride, Marcus stepped boldly into the future, carrying with him the lessons of the past and the promise of brighter days to come. As Marcus prepared to leave for college, the weight of his journey pressed heavily on his heart. The small house he shared with his mother, once a place of struggle and sacrifice, now felt like a sanctuary filled with memories. Every corner told a story. The kitchen table where they had celebrated his acceptance letter, the living room couch where Mr. Langston had first sat, the garage where he and his friends had built their solar-powered lanterns. Leaving it behind wasn't easy, but Marcus knew it was time to take the next step. The university campus was a world away from the familiar streets of his neighborhood. Towering buildings, bustling pathways, and students from all walks of life created an atmosphere that was both exhilarating and intimidating. On his first day, Marcus walked through the engineering department's halls, marveling at the state-of-the-art labs and advanced equipment. It was everything he had dreamed of, yet he couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place. Many of his classmates came from affluent families, having attended elite high schools and traveled abroad. Their conversations about internships, research opportunities, and networking events often left him feeling unsure of himself. But Marcus refused to let self-doubt hold him back. He reminded himself of the lessons he'd learned throughout his journey: resilience, determination, and the importance of staying true to who he was. During orientation week, he introduced himself to as many people as possible, sharing his story with humility and enthusiasm. To his surprise, many students were inspired by his background and eager to collaborate. One classmate, a girl named Elena from New York, became a close friend. She admired Marcus's creativity and practical approach to problem-solving, qualities she said were rare among their peers. Academically, Marcus thrived. His professors noticed his dedication and encouraged him to pursue challenging projects. In his second semester, he joined a team working on sustainable housing solutions for low-income communities. Drawing inspiration from his own experiences, Marcus proposed incorporating modular designs that could be assembled quickly and affordably. The idea earned praise from his professor, who invited him to present it at a regional conference. Standing on stage, addressing a room full of engineers and architects, Marcus felt a surge of pride. He realized he wasn't just representing himself. He was representing everyone who believed in the power of innovation to drive change. Despite his academic success, Marcus faced financial challenges. Even with scholarships and part-time jobs, covering tuition and living expenses was difficult. Some nights, after long hours of studying or working at the campus library, he would call his mother, sharing his struggles and seeking comfort in her voice. "You're stronger than you think, sweetheart," she would say. "Just keep going. You've got this." Mr. Langston remained a constant source of support during this time. Whenever Marcus doubted himself, the millionaire would remind him of how far he'd come. Success isn't about avoiding obstacles, Mr. Langston once told him over the phone. It's about finding ways to overcome them. And you, Marcus, are a natural problem solver. With Mr. Langston's encouragement, Marcus applied for competitive internships during his summers. His hard work paid off when he secured a position at a leading tech company focused on renewable energy. The internship exposed him to cutting-edge technologies and introduced him to industry leaders who shared his vision for a better future. One mentor, a senior engineer named Dr. Patel, took a particular interest in Marcus's ideas. "You have a unique perspective," Dr. Patel said during one of their meetings. "Never lose sight of that. Your ability to see problems through the lens of real-world experience is invaluable." By his junior year, Marcus had become a respected figure within the engineering community. He co-founded a student organization dedicated to promoting diversity in STEM fields, organizing workshops and mentorship programs for underrepresented students. Through these efforts, he hoped to inspire others the way Mr. Langston had inspired him. The organization grew rapidly, attracting members from across the university and earning recognition from faculty and alumni alike. Still, Marcus never forgot where he came from. Every holiday break, he returned home to visit his mother and reconnect with his roots. During one such trip, he organized a community event to showcase the solar-powered lanterns he and his friends had developed. Dozens of families attended, eager to learn more about the project and its potential impact. Seeing their faces light up, both literally and figuratively, filled Marcus with gratitude. It reinforced his belief that technology should serve humanity, not the other way around. As graduation approached, Marcus found himself reflecting on his journey. From the moment he picked up that wallet in the park to standing on the brink of a promising career, every decision had shaped him into the person he was today. He thought about the sacrifices his mother had made, the guidance Mr. Langston had provided, and the countless individuals who had supported him along the way. He owed them everything. During his final semester, Marcus received an email that changed his life once again. It was from a global nonprofit organization focused on sustainable development. They had heard about his work and wanted to hire him as a junior consultant. The role would involve traveling to underserved communities around the world, designing affordable and eco-friendly infrastructure solutions. For Marcus, it was a dream come true, an opportunity to combine his passion for engineering with his desire to make a tangible difference. When he broke the news to his mother, she cried tears of joy. "I always knew you were destined for greatness, sweetheart," she said, hugging him tightly. "This is just the beginning." On the day of his graduation, Marcus stood alongside hundreds of other students, clad in a cap and gown, listening to speeches about ambition and perseverance. When his name was called, he walked across the stage to receive his diploma, scanning the audience until he spotted his mother and Mr. Langston sitting side by side. Their proud smiles brought tears to his eyes. That evening, surrounded by family, friends, and mentors, Marcus delivered a heartfelt speech. "When I found that wallet 4 years ago, I didn't know it would lead me here," he began, his voice steady despite the emotions swelling inside him. "I only knew it was the right thing to do. But looking back, I realized that doing the right thing opened doors I never imagined. It taught me the value of integrity, the importance of giving back, and the power of believing in yourself, even when no one else does." He paused, glancing at his mother and Mr. Langston before continuing. "To anyone listening tonight, I want you to know this. Your actions matter. Whether it's returning a lost wallet, helping a neighbor, or pursuing a dream, the choices you make can create ripples that touch lives far beyond your own. So don't be afraid to take risks, to stand up for what's right, and to chase the things that set your soul on fire. Because somewhere down the line, those small acts of courage will add up to something extraordinary." The crowd erupted in applause, but Marcus's mind drifted to the boy he used to be, the one who had walked through the park, uncertain of his future. He smiled softly, knowing that kid would be proud of the man he had become. Months later, as Marcus boarded a plane for his first assignment with the nonprofit, he carried with him not just his luggage but also the lessons of his past. He was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the knowledge that honesty, hard work, and compassion could truly change the world. And as the plane soared into the sky, Marcus felt a deep sense of peace. This was more than a job, it was a calling, a chance to leave the world a little better than he had found it. Marcus's first assignment with the nonprofit took him to a remote village in Kenya, where access to clean water and reliable electricity was scarce. The journey itself was an adventure: long flights, bumpy bus rides, and dusty roads leading to a place untouched by modern conveniences. When he arrived, he was greeted by wide-eyed children running barefoot through the dirt paths and elders sitting under shade trees, their faces lined with wisdom earned from years of hardship. It was a stark contrast to the polished halls of his university and the sleek offices of Mr. Langston's company, but Marcus felt instantly at home. His task was clear: design and implement a system that would provide affordable, sustainable energy to power homes, schools, and medical clinics in the area. Drawing on the skills he'd honed during his college years, Marcus worked closely with local leaders and engineers to understand their needs and resources. Together, they devised a plan to install solar panels on rooftops and set up microgrids that could distribute electricity efficiently. It wasn't easy. Materials were expensive, tools were limited, and cultural differences sometimes led to misunderstandings. But Marcus approached every challenge with patience and determination. What struck him most was the resilience of the people. Despite their struggles, they welcomed him warmly, sharing meals of maize and beans and teaching him snippets of Swahili. They laughed at his clumsy attempts to pronounce their language and teased him good-naturedly when he tripped over uneven ground. Slowly but surely, Marcus became part of their community, earning their trust and respect. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the village, Marcus sat with an elderly woman named Mama Amina. She had lived in the village her entire life, raising 6 children and countless grandchildren. Her hands, calloused from decades of work, rested gently on her lap as she spoke about the changes she hoped to see. "When I was young," she said, her voice soft but steady, "we dreamed of lights in our homes. Now, because of you, that dream is becoming real." Tears welled up in Marcus's eyes. He realized then that this project wasn't just about technology, it was about hope. Hope for a brighter future, not just for Mama Amina and her family, but for generations to come. Over the next few months, Marcus traveled to other communities around the world, each with its own unique challenges and triumphs. In Peru, he helped build irrigation systems that allowed farmers to grow crops year-round. In Bangladesh, he designed flood-resistant housing for families living in low-lying areas prone to monsoons. Everywhere he went, he carried with him the lessons he'd learned back home: the importance of listening, collaborating, and staying humble. Back in Chicago, news of Marcus's work spread quickly. Local newspapers wrote glowing articles about the boy who found a wallet and grew up to become a global changemaker. His mother proudly clipped every story, adding it to a scrapbook she kept on the kitchen counter. Neighbors stopped by to congratulate her, marveling at how far Marcus had come. Even kids who had once teased him now looked up to him, asking their parents if they too could make a difference someday. Mr. Langston followed Marcus's progress closely, often calling to check in or send words of encouragement. "You're doing incredible work, my boy," he said during one such conversation. "I told you, you remind me of myself, except you're even better." Marcus chuckled, though he knew Mr. Langston meant every word. Their relationship had evolved from mentorship to friendship, built on mutual respect and admiration. On holidays, Marcus made it a point to visit Mr. Langston, bringing updates from his travels and sharing stories of the people he'd met along the way. During one such visit, Mr. Langston surprised him with an offer. "I've been thinking," he said, leaning forward in his chair. "Why don't we start a foundation together? Something focused on empowering young innovators like yourself. Kids from underserved communities who have big dreams but lack the resources to achieve them. The idea thrilled Marcus. For years, he had dreamed of creating opportunities for others, and now here was a chance to do exactly that. Together, they launched the Langston Johnson Foundation, dedicated to funding STEM education programs, scholarships, and community projects worldwide. Within its first year, the foundation supported dozens of initiatives, from robotics clubs in inner-city schools to coding workshops for girls in rural villages. As the foundation gained traction, Marcus began receiving invitations to speak at conferences and events across the globe. Standing on stages before thousands of people, he shared his story, not to boast but to inspire. "I didn't start out with much," he would say, his voice steady and sincere. "But I had two things, integrity and a willingness to try. Those qualities opened doors I never thought possible, and they can do the same for you." His speeches resonated deeply, especially among young audiences. After one event in New York City, a teenage girl approached him, tears streaming down her face. "I'm from a poor neighborhood too," she said softly. "People always tell me I'll never amount to anything, but hearing your story makes me believe I can." Marcus hugged her tightly, remembering the doubts he had faced and overcome. "Never let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do," he said firmly. "You are capable of greatness. Just keep pushing forward." Years passed, and Marcus continued to balance his work with the foundation and his consulting projects. Though his schedule was demanding, he made time to return to his roots, visiting his old neighborhood whenever he could. Each trip brought reminders of how far he and the community had come. The park where he'd found the wallet was now a vibrant hub of activity, thanks to renovations funded by the foundation. Kids played soccer on freshly mowed fields, while adults gathered for weekend markets and festivals. One summer afternoon, as Marcus strolled through the park, he spotted a familiar face. It was Jamal, a boy he had mentored during his college days. Now grown, Jamal ran a successful landscaping business, employing several members of the community. Seeing Marcus, he waved enthusiastically and jogged over. "Hey, Marcus!" Jamal exclaimed, grinning. "Long time no see." "It's great to see you, Jamal," Marcus replied, shaking his hand warmly. "How's business going?" "Better than ever," Jamal said proudly. "Thanks to everything you taught me about hard work and believing in myself. Seriously, man, I owe you." Marcus smiled, feeling a swell of pride. "You did all the hard work, Jamal. I just gave you a little push." Jamal shook his head. "No, it was more than that. You showed us what's possible. That's why so many of us look up to you." Their conversation turned nostalgic, reminiscing about old times and discussing plans for the future. As they parted ways, Marcus couldn't help but reflect on the ripple effect of his actions. Returning that wallet all those years ago hadn't just changed his life. It had sparked a chain reaction, inspiring others to dream bigger and aim higher. That evening, as Marcus sat on the porch of his childhood, home with his mother watching the stars twinkle above, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. Life had taken him farther than he ever imagined. Yet his heart remained anchored in the values he'd grown up with. Honesty, kindness, and perseverance weren't just words. They were guiding principles that had shaped his journey and defined his legacy. "You know, Mom," Marcus said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't returned that wallet." His mother smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Then none of this would have happened. But you did the right thing, sweetheart, and look where it's brought you." Marcus nodded, gazing out at the night sky. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars, lay endless possibilities. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing for certain. He would continue using his gifts to uplift others, paying forward the kindness and opportunities that had transformed his life. And so, with hope in his heart and purpose in his stride, Marcus stepped boldly into the unknown, carrying with him the lessons of the past and the promise of brighter days to come.